Love that sound. Oh yeah. Do I look bald? Can you see my bun?
Yes.
Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Get Lit and Knit. I'm Allie. I'm one half of Get Lit and Knit on Instagram and Ravelry. This is a show and an account that my best friend from college and I set up to post our knitting projects, our cocktail recipes, and even a Snapchat of mine when I was too hungover to knit and had to color in the Mason-Dixon coloring book for knitters instead. So you can find us at Get Lit and Knit on both Instagram and Ravelry. We have a Twitter account that we'll probably never use. Before we do anything, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who watched it and gave us great feedback and hyped it. I wasn't really expecting anybody to see the thing, and for my first episode, everybody was like very generous. So specific shout outs in particular. Devin at Francophone Knits, she was our first podcast shout out, and I wasn't expecting it, and I lost my mind. People I've been super active talking to on Instagram, Melissa at Spicy Homemaker and Brittany at Sip and Stitch. Devin falls into this category too. And then I actually, per your guys' suggestion, found the Stitching Between Pages podcast, and because I was determined to find somebody else in Chicago who does this, and it turns out Robin has recently moved back to do her PhD program, so it was really exciting to know that somebody else is out there and to get to connect with her. So I think that's all my thank yous. Trying not to gush too much, but this thing has been really fun. I think that's it, right? Okay, so since Abby won't be on most of these episodes, I'm gonna start by talking about my whips, and then I'm gonna stick in one of hers, actually I think 2 of hers at the end. Got a lot of whips and 1 FO, just to give you an idea of how the pacing on this is gonna go. Okay, let's start with the excuses. I have made 0 progress on the Junebugs Kitty Bed by Wendy Engstrom. 0, none, just didn't happen. I kind of just wish I had the Molly Weasley spell and that thing would knit itself, because it's not fun anymore. I did knit a couple more Hexie Puffs, nothing super interesting. I've decided that when I hit 100 puffs, I'll take a picture and show you guys. For now, the count stands at, I think, 57 or 58, maybe. I'd have to count again. It's not a lot. I'm gonna be doing this for a while. So that's for the Beekeeper's Quilt by Tiny Owl Knits. And it's a good on-the-go project. It's like ideal CTA knitting because I don't have to think about it too hard. But it does get repetitive. I'm getting bored with my skeins. I'm fighting the urge to buy more until I'm done with these. And I know I have the minis from the 5-gram Bohemia Fibers swap that Amy of Bohemia Fibers and Melissa from the Spicy Homemaker podcast organized. So I know I've got 25 coming, and I'm just trying to practice some restraint until then. Okay, so this one is by popular demand. I showed this last week, and a lot of people were very excited about this project. I tagged it in Craft for 20, and Jenny of Tiny Paper Foxes said it was super fun, and I fangirled because this is what I do. So for all the social media attention this thing has gotten, I felt like I had to work on it. So here's the update on Kanye. So lettering's done. We got a little bit more of the head outline, but it pretty much stopped there. My younger sister, she's 17, she visited over the weekend and wanted to learn to cross stitch, so she is working on a super cute avocado pattern, and I was helping her troubleshoot because she's never done it before. And so that's about as far as I got. This is the the Kanye West PDF pattern by Penned and String on Etsy. And yeah, I'll keep working on this guy. I definitely want it for the gallery wall. This doesn't count as an acquisition, so I'm throwing it in now. I ordered a Kendrick Lamar print off of Etsy for the wall. Should fit the color scheme, and I'm a giant fan, and I feel like now that Kendrick and Kanye finally got in the studio together, I want them on my wall together. Before I go any further, let me mention the bag. I totally forgot to say the name of the maker last time. I am 99% sure this is Pearly Girl Bags. I'm obsessed with this thing. I know Christine from House Yarn uses this fabric too. I love it. Super sturdy, more than big enough to house the sweater, and I hope this is picking up on camera because I want this, like, I need this tattooed on my body. Alright, so let's talk about the Georgetown Cardigan by Hannah Fettig. I've been putting an update up on Instagram every time I get through a skein, and my last update was at skein number 5. As of right now, this is Tuesday the 9th. I'm on toward the end of skein number 5. So, this is also serious progress since the last time I showed this on the podcast. So, I'm knitting the mostly seamless version. The back is totally done. You have one sleeve, oh my god. And then I am working the sleeve cap on the other side. There's a bunch of short rows. And I would have kept going on this. I've been knitting this fairly monogamously, but I knew that I had another project coming up, and so I wanted to get through as much stuff as possible. So I knit this in Quince & Co. Owl. It's 50-50 wool spun alpaca. I was listening to the Sticks Plus Twine podcast, and Eric recommended knit.fm, which is an audio podcast. I don't think they're recording episodes now, but by Pam Allen and Hannah Fettig. So Hannah Fettig is, you know, we all know who, she's designed this pattern from the Home and Away book, and then Pam Allen, I think, is one of the owner of Quince & Co. something. But they, I don't know, they just put a great podcast together. Like, it could be geared more toward like a beginner or intermediate knitter, but it's definitely helping me, I don't know, I feel like I'm like intermediate. It's definitely helping me fill gaps in my knowledge. So it's been really nice. You got to learn all about this yarn and how it works. The difference between wool spun and worsted spun. I didn't know that was even a thing. So this is still on the Chiagu red lace stainless steel, size 5 for the body, size 3 for the ribbing. And I picked this version because it had minimal seaming, but you still have to seam the shoulders. It came out pretty well. I haven't seamed too many things. I'm hoping that any weird quirks will, you know, loosen up a little bit once this is washed and blocked, so here's hoping. This has been a super fun knit so far. I've had to kind of force myself to put it down to work on other projects, but I've definitely got a couple others for you. So I really wanted to knit the Doodler, and I really wanted to stash dive to do it because I had a feeling I could make it work. So I'm working on this guy. This is clue number 1. This is literally my only complaint about this project, is that there's just like a million ends, and I'm not looking forward to contending with that. So I knit this on size 7 knit picks, just their straights. So to walk you through it real quick, the body of this, so color A, I think, is Araucania in Clouds Above. I think that's colorway 34. And then the stripes in here are Evergreen and Salt Air. So I'm going to do that until I run out of those colors. Hopefully I'll, you know, get through all the striping. I think I'm about halfway there. So then the cable on top, I don't think I'm spoiling anything, this has been out for a long while, is going to be in Sapphire. And then the bottom will be Basil, Fern, And then I have some super old stash. I couldn't even tell you what this is. And that's kind of like my break in case of emergency yardage, just in case. So except for the break in case of emergency yardage, all of these colors are from the Sweet Georgia Party of 5 Tough Love Sock colorway in Sea to Sky. This has been a super fun knit so far. My only complaint is that it's not a good portable knit. There's, if you do color work in transit or in public, I commend you, because I cannot. And it's too much to juggle, and you have to stop and turn, and it's just not portable. So that's why progress on this has been slow, but overall I am pleased. I think I only screwed up once in here, and it was not enough of a deal breaker for me to tank back and figure it out. So that's the Doodler, yay! Feel the enthusiasm. So before we move on to Abby's whips, I was really hoping that this yarn would come in before I recorded, but not quite. I think it's gonna come tomorrow. So Abby and I are knitting for the Hugh Loco trunk show. So excited. I watched her podcast a couple days ago and didn't realize how trigger happy I was. Somehow made it into the first 14 offers. I even prefaced it with, I'm sure you have a million people who want to do this for you, because I was sure she would. So all I know for sure is I'm knitting the Hermione's Everyday Socks by Erica Luder, and Abby is knitting Nicole's Tour Hat pattern. They're both cute, and the Hermione's Everyday Socks has been languishing in my favorites forever, so I'm excited to do that. I was trying to figure out a way I could do them 2 at a time just to make sure they're accurate and identical. I don't know why this is the case, but I've had a harder time knitting 2 at a time cuff down socks. I think it's just because that's not how I learned it in the class I took, but hopefully I can figure it out. I will definitely put that on Instagram when the yarn comes in, because I am so excited. So Abby's knitting the Sockhead Hat by Kelly McClure, and she told me she can't quite remember what the yarn was. She's lost the tag, and it was a gift to her from a friend of hers for college graduation. They worked in their undergrad research project, please tell me I'm not explaining this wrong, was they were testing bovine blood to they were researching a suitable human substitute, I think. So he got her, this deep, dark, bluish red fingering weight yarn, and she told me she was just waiting for the perfect pattern to come along. And I knit a version of this in the Araucania Sea Flower colorway. I'll stick a picture of that in too. Abby's also knitting the Adama Cowl by Hilary Smith Callis. Kelly, really hope I'm not butchering that. This was one that I had knit as a Christmas gift for my stepsister and my stepbrother's fiance. It was one of those projects. It was a really quick knit. It turned out great, and I didn't want to give it up. Abby decided she wanted to knit one too, and she knit it in a worsted weight jojoba yarn in powder blue. I think she had to frog it once, but has since figured it out, and she's finally past the point in the pattern where it's not just garter stitch and increases, she's in the lace section, and apparently and I felt like this too. It was fun to kind of watch it unfold. It's definitely a knit where you have to focus a little bit though. I had to have an audiobook or a TV show that I had already seen to work on it, because you have to really watch what you're doing. I love her patterns. There's one I actually have on deck that I want to make once I've got some stuff off the needles. I was torn between a couple, but I think it'll either be the Star Shower cowl or the Apaya cowl, mostly because I've never done a picot edge, and I feel like I should probably learn how to do that. Alright, I only have one FO for you this week. and it leads into my knitting fail for the week. So let's talk about the Quadri Hat by Michelle Wong. So I knit this up in the Madeline Tosh Vintage ink colorway. This pattern was awesome, super fun. I knit this on size 8 circulars, the Knit Picks interchangeables that I use pretty religiously, and made a pom-pom for it. This was not the original plan, we'll talk about that, but this is just like the most comfortable hat. I usually don't wear hats other than the Graham hat. I like live in that one. I don't wear them because I wear like pretty big headphones and it can like crunch it down and it's like scooting back on my giant head. And I don't know if it was just something about the way this blocked or this yarn or just, because it doesn't seem like there's a ton of negative ease, and I know that's what you're supposed to do for, you know, a hat to fit correctly, but this came out super nice. I'm waiting for, because it's just been gray and gross here, to find a sunny day to get a picture of this, because even when I bought it, it wasn't until Abby and I got out to the parking lot and I saw it in natural light that I realized just how like deep and rich and varied this color is. So very, very happy with this guy. If this pom-pom thing is still on trend by next Christmas, I definitely will have this in the gift knitting rotation. Let's talk about knitting fails. Fortunately, this week, I only have one. And it's not even a knitting fail, it's like, I shouldn't be allowed to go to law school because I like can't read. So for this, I originally, because like Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast had a fur pom-pom on here, and I wanted kind of a lighter gray one, or even a darker gray. It really didn't matter. I just wanted the faux fur one. Talk about a super trendy piece. I don't know, I just felt like the faux fur one gave it a little more of like a luxe look, and I'd never made a pom-pom. This is actually my first pom-pom, so turned out all right, and I'm gonna count it as an FO. So I have two. But anyway, before I made this, I ordered a Bernat pom-pom off of Amazon. And I don't know what my deal was. In the picture, it looked gray. It was like kind of ashy and dark, and apparently, I just don't know color names, and I didn't know what aubergine was, because this is purple, kids. It is a dark, ashy gray purple, but it is purple all the same, and there's just no way. I just was not. And so, here's the thing, like, it's not neon, I don't hate it. I might just have to knit like a purple or a black hat or something to go with this. Because for less than $10, I'm certainly not gonna mess around with Amazon shipping and like returning stuff. Just, life is too short. So, I'm gonna, this is half Amazon's fault or Bernat's because the picture was a little deceptive. But it's also mine because I didn't Google the color name and I didn't look close enough. So I have been blessed and cursed with a giant purple pom-pom. So apparently I was pretty bitter when I was writing the show notes, pretty upset with myself about this whole stupid pom-pom thing, because in my show notes, under my acquisition section, all I have is none except that expletive purple pom-pom. And it's not entirely true. So over the weekend when my sister was in town, we went shopping in Lakeview, Boys Town, off the Belmont stop. And there's a good mix of like clothes, and there's some vintage shopping, and there's a Michael's, so we did it all. We went to Michael's and I got a couple of little charms, and she's gonna make progress keepers for me, so I'll show those when they're done. One is like a Harry Potter Thunderbolt, and one is a little wine glass, and of course I needed that, right? So they're both silver, and next time I see her, she's gonna have progress keepers for me. So very excited. Also at Michael's, I got a couple things for my bullet journal because I have become one of those people. And so I got sparkly duct tape because it turned out it was a lot cheaper than the washi tape, so why not? Also got silver star stickers. I just apparently am a sucker for incentives. And I blame / thank Jill from the Knitting Broomsticks podcast for this guy, because I haven't gone full-blown planner crazy. My handwriting kind of sucks, and I don't want to spend a ton of time decorating it, and I wanted something small. So really this has just become a to-do list. I've been keeping my Georgetown Cardigan notes in it, and I have a whole... I'm gonna see now, my handwriting is just a Tim Burton acid trip. So I have a flippity flip, the page for #goals and half-baked ideas with a crappy little doodle because I can't draw either. And I have in the very back a Beekeeper's Quilt Hexie Puff count. So I may have to use more stars to reward myself. So I haven't worked on that much either. My sister and I also went to a little place called Four-Sided. It's a vintage cards, posters, just like there's some stationery, like apartment store. The cat print I have is from there. And yeah, I think that's everything on the walls from there, but I've bought about 1 million candles. It's one of my favorite places in the city. And they're also good for like hometown pride kind of swag, which I'm like a total sucker for. I have to stop myself, especially because part of my undergrad degree was in geography. I have to stop myself from like, okay, nerd, not all of the prints in your apartment can be Chicago maps. But I did see this. How cute is that? I die. This is by, what is it? Seltzer Goods. And it's obviously not like a knitting project bag, but it has made a very happy home for my minis, for the Hexie Puff blanket. And this is just a perfect size for all the bags I have. So yeah, I'll have to check out what else is on this website because it's super sturdy, and I don't know, I'm a sucker. I wasn't planning on buying anything in there, and then I saw this and it was over. I also picked up cards for the swaps that I feel like eventually we will get into, and I really want to get into. I have a thought about that later, but I don't want to show you because, you know, what if you end up with one of those boxes? So my last acquisition isn't anything I can really show you, but it's a little teaser for what I'm planning on doing going forward. There was a day a few weeks ago where Craftsy did a massive like class sale, like everything was half off. And so I picked up the Design Your Own Cowl class with Laura Nelkin because I really want to start designing. The only thing that has held me back from really going whole hog on this, because besides, you know, finite time, is Molly of A Homespun House talked about this, about how parts of her patterns that she like previewed on the podcast were being copied, and I was just like, this plays right into my fears because I am so afraid that I am gonna accidentally copy somebody's work, because like there's just such, like Ravelry is such a prolific website. There's so many patterns on there. And that's all I need, right, is to start law school with like copyright infringement. So I don't know how to prevent that other than like going through when I'm initially thinking about the concept and searching by design aspect. But I'll have to figure it out. Just played right into my fear. Alright, so I only have one real talk question for you this time around. I got great feedback on the last one. Apparently the crinkling plastic thing is about headphone wearers. So I'm just gonna make a point to keep plastic out of the podcast as much as possible. That's what editing is for, right? Ting. So here's my only question. Speaking of podcasts that play right into my fears, I was watching Melissa 2 episodes back talk about the uneven, the mismatched, the unequal swap. Apparently that's pretty embarrassing and happens a lot, and I was just like, oh my god, like that's the exact reason I hesitate to do it. So I thought, and this might be a little challenging, but I would love to do like a swap like you would do with any Secret Santa or gift exchange with like a set budget. So you and the person you're swapping with kind of mutually agree on an amount and agree to only spend that, and then just, shipping on top of it is whatever it is. The only thing that makes that tough is it's like hard to, like, how do you quantify the value of a mini skein? So maybe the answer is you agree on like X number of mini skeins and then a certain dollar amount for whatever extras you're gonna throw in. Just a thought. It's something I'd like to do, and I feel like putting, you have, and I'm sure this is something people communicate individually when they do swaps, but something with like very set parameters and expectations, and that way, like, no matter what you get, like y'all both spent $20 on each other or whatever. And I know that these packages come out to be a lot more than that sometimes, and I would never want to, I wouldn't want to make anybody uncomfortable with what I had given them, and vice versa. All that said, if anybody wants to swap, I am super game. I haven't done that yet, and I feel like it would be really fun. Alright, just to wrap this thing up, not a ton is going on with me, or with Abby. It's a lot of the same, it's the same grind, work, study, knit, repeat. Like, it's pretty much it. Like I said last time, if you have feedback, suggestions, questions for us, super receptive to that. And I'll have our social media links at the end, but you can find us at Get Lit and Knit on Instagram and Ravelry. And thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. So if anyone is wondering why there's just like a casual random tea towel, it's because while I was making this drink for the intro, I dripped everywhere. It just shouldn't be allowed. Shouldn't be allowed. Are you gonna keep meowing while I talk? I'm gonna make you be a guest on the podcast. You're gonna hate it. No, you don't get out of this. You wreak havoc the whole time. You get to say hi to the camera. Say hi to Ellie. She's the one who caused all the technical problems this time and last time. She hates this.